Good evening to all the participants present here. We cordially invite you to our webinar today. Kumaraguru College of Liberal Arts and Science is one of the greatest initiatives of Kumaraguru institutions. It is vibrant in its education and standard and morality. Every aspirant enters college with high hopes of achieving their dreams. This place understands each student and helps them to discover, explore, learn, and exhibit their talents and help them achieve their goals. Class aims at giving a higher level of knowledge and a great platform to start a career life. Learning here includes academics and inculcation of moral values. Class is always open to students who come up with great interest in learning, as one of its main objectives is to encourage liberal learning. Now, we have opened some diploma courses as a part of exploring studies. At class, one can develop skills like leadership, professionalism, teamwork, and adaptability, and a lot more. It guides each student to where they want to be. So today, we have amidst us a wonderful set of experts who would be sharing their knowledge. I now hand over the dais to Madame Magdalene to introduce our guest. Over to you, ma'am.
Merci, Gracia. So, bonsoir. Aujourd'hui, nous explorons le topic Higher Education in France. Parmi eux, il y a deux experts, M. Eric PERROTEL à Institut Français et Madame RHEA à Campus France. So, as you all know, Campus France is the cultural wing of Institut Français. M. Eric has a vast number of experience being a French expert in various nations. Currently, he is the attaché for the French language in India. He promotes the language in the 5 southern states. Madame RHEA, she carries a very humble persona. She is always ready to help the French aspirants who are ready to explore France. So, bienvenue à both to the dais.
Good evening, Magdalene. Thank you so much for having us over.
Thank you. So can we have Mr. Eric on the dais?
Dear Dr. Kennedy, dear Mr. David, dear Mrs. Dominic, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. So as you said before, the Institut Français, French Institute, is here to promote French culture in India, but also to promote Indian culture in France. So we are here to make links between our two countries, and the French Institute works on education, research, and cultural sector. Everything related to defense, economy, and politics is part of the activity of the French Embassy. Now, as an introduction, I'd like to say that students have to see international mobility not only as a matter of learning a language or to go sightseeing, which is already very good, but also as a way to discover another culture and, beyond this discovery, as an access to another way of thinking and thus being able to take a critical look at their own culture. It will be easier to find a job because it reflects in the candidate an open mind. France is the first country to have reopened its borders to students in July 2020. And France is also the first tourist destination, the third most popular destination for international students, but also the world's 5th largest economy. Let me give you some figures about French language. French, along with English, is the only language spoken on all continents. It is taught in nearly every country worldwide. And in India, we've got more than 6 lakhs of students, of people, teenagers, children who are learning French. French is the third most useful language for business and the primary or secondary language of many international organizations such as the United Nations, AU, NATO, WTO, and of course the International Olympic Committee. French is an official language in 29 countries, and will continue to grow in influence in emerging markets in the forthcoming years. About 40% of the world's French speakers live in Europe, with another 50 based in Africa. With 300 million speakers worldwide now, French is the 5th most spoken language in the world, behind Mandarin Chinese, English, Spanish, and, depending on estimates, Arabic or Hindi. By 2050, the number of French speakers in the world is projected to reach the number of 750 million, thanks to rising fluency and population growth in Africa. What about France and India today? There are long-standing ties and historical links between India and France. Today, France is the 7th largest investor in India and India's largest European employer, and remains very present and active in several important sectors. More than 1,000 French companies are based in India, lots of them in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. They employ around 350,000 skilled employees, and most of these companies look for Indian students who've had an experience in France and an understanding French working methods. The economic exchanges between France and India have created a renewed interest in foreign languages. Where could you learn French in India? And also, where can you learn French in France? In India, we have one French institute in Jaipur, and we have 14 Alliances Françaises. The nearest Alliance Française for you will be in Coimbatore, which belongs to the Alliance Française Chennai. Alliance Française is part of our official diplomatic network in the world. They offer courses at different levels, from beginner to advanced, and classes are scheduled in the morning, afternoon, and evening during the week, but also over the weekend, and, of course, since March 2020, online as well. When registering as a student of Alliance Française, you also get access to online media library, and Alliance Française organizes a lot of cultural events. Now it's a little bit more difficult, of course. Going to France doesn't mean that you have to be fluent in French, but even with some basis, it will help you to survive in your everyday life and will facilitate meeting French people. With a B2 level of French, you also get access to every program taught in French, and my colleague RHEA is going to talk about that later. Opportunities to get an internship or a job in France, but also in India or in another country with a French company. As I said before, French companies are looking for young talents who have experienced the French educational and work culture. In addition to their knowledge of French, as small as it may be, they will be better placed to understand the different points of views related to intercultural issues. In France, you have also the possibility to continue your language studies. Some French universities, for example, often offer French courses for international students. But you can also sometimes benefit from free courses at the local town hall or prefecture, which is the headquarters of the region. You can also enroll in a course given in a local school for foreigners, even some Alliance Française in France, or enroll for a class with a private teacher. Another good way is to learn French, and this is free of charge, is to find a French native who wants to learn English. Then you give him 1 hour of English, and he gives you 1 hour of French. And this is a very good and cheap way. To conclude, in this era of globalization, it has become imperative to learn a foreign language. The present health crisis has spawned a global economic crisis, including a challenging job market. In the given scenario, the French language becomes an asset for those who are looking for jobs, as French investments are widely spread across all major sectors of industrial activity, such as energy, pharma, agribusiness, defense and aerospace, and so on. Not to forget, of course, education and tourism. In a globalized world, A foreign language is a lucrative resource, not for just hospitality and tourism, but also scientific research, business, and technology. Merci. Thank you very much for your attention.
Merci, monsieur. So now can we have the video before Madame RHEA takes up the session?
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in for this session today. As Magdalene said, my name is RHEA SHIVAN, and I am the manager of the Campus France office in Chennai. So I look after student mobility for the region of Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry. So maybe before I start, we can have the presentation up, please. Perfect. So before we start, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Dr. Vigila Kennedy, the principal, Mr. David and Ms. Dominic for allowing us to do this presentation. And so here goes. So if we can move to the next slide. So Campus France is a government organization that operates under the Ministry of External Affairs and Higher Education and Research. Our whole objective is to help students find a suitable program in France. And we offer a wide range of services such as counseling, designing your study plan, helping you with your visa process, helping you prepare a proper CV SOP as per the requirements of the French institutes. We organize numerous education fairs, alumni meets, and college presentations. So we have a wide range of services through which we help students, set out to study in France. So the next slide, please. Yeah, so we are a pretty large network. We have 12 offices in India with 14 managers. And in the south, we have four offices in Bangalore, Kochi, Hyderabad, and Chennai. So Chennai is run by me and my colleague Alina. And we are under what we call an Attaché for Science, Technology, and University Cooperation. So if you see on the far right, we have Dr. François-Xavier Mortreuil, who heads the southern team, along with his coordinator, Dr. Anupama Anil Kumar. So yeah, you don't have to always come to Chennai. If you wish to go to France to study, you can reach out to any of the offices in the south of India or anywhere else in India, whichever city you're from. We have an office in almost every major city. So the next slide, please. All right. So before we get into the more academic side of studying in France, it's important to note how close and how strong Franco-Indian collaborations are. So if you notice on an economic level, today we have more than 500 French companies that are based in India. And of these 500 companies, at least 150 of them are located in Tamil Nadu alone. So that's quite important, because tomorrow when you decide to finish your higher studies in France and come back to India, you can look out, you can reach out to these companies if you're looking for a job. On a political level, of course, ties are even stronger. I'm sure you all know of the recent arrival of the Rafale jets that India had bought from France. And that's not the only political affiliation we have with France. We also work together on the Solar Alliance, climate change. We work together a lot on countering terrorism. So there are a lot of fields in which politically both countries work together. Talking about the cultural aspect, as Mr. Eric mentioned, we have 14 Alliance Française. So the Alliance Française is one of the largest language learning centers across the globe. And in India, we are pretty large again. We have 14 cultural centers. And it's not just a center for learning French. It's also a center to promote French and Franco-Indian cultural activities in different domains. And finally, on the scientific and technological platform, we sent about 10,000 students last year to France for higher education and research. And that was a target which we were supposed to achieve this year, but we achieved it a year earlier. So this interest in studying in France is something that is growing a lot today. And I hope that, this interest also spreads across to you all. And I hope you get inspired also to take up higher education in France after this. One important milestone to note is that on the 1st of May 2018, during President Macron's maiden visit to India, both countries signed an agreement to mutually recognize degrees between India and France. So this is something that is a milestone that was very important to us, because France is the only country to have signed such an agreement with India, and therefore the result of this is that you can smoothly transition back and forth when it comes to studies. Your 12th, your bachelor's, your master's, and PhD in India will be recognized in France, and vice versa. So yeah. So can we go to the next slide, please? Now, this agreement came into effect because of how similar our education patterns are. Now, if you look at the graph that we have here, you notice that we follow the same pattern: your 12th, bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degree. There's just a slight change in the title of a bachelor's, but otherwise the pattern remains the same. Now, the only difference you will see here is the duration of our courses. Now, the courses in France are slightly shorter in duration than in India, because bachelor's degrees can go anywhere between 3 to 5 years, and a doctoral degree in India can also go between 3 to 7 years. Whereas in France, a bachelor's and a doctoral degree are both done usually within a period of 3 years. Now, while there is this difference, there is a certain advantage to it for Indian students. Now, if you look, a student that takes up a 4-year program in India stands at an advantage because he will have direct access to a second-year master's in France, which means that he can shorten his study period by 12 months. So that's one advantage that we offer Indian students who decide to take up higher education in France. So while the patterns are similar, the only difference is the duration, and in this duration, Indian students stand at an advantage. Can we go to the next slide, please? All right. So why do we promote higher studies in France? France is known for a lot of things. We know it for its architecture, its gastronomy. We know it, of course, for being the most visited place on the planet. But given the size of this country, which is only a fraction of ours, it is important to see how big and how vast its university ecosystem is. Okay, so today the university ecosystem in France consists of 74 public universities, about 220 schools of business management, an almost equal number of engineering schools. We have 4 national schools of architecture, 3,000 specialized institutions, and by this we mean anything out of the box, both in the public and private sector. We have about 120 schools of art and design, 4 major axes of research fields, and 15 elite schools, which what we would call in English Ivy League schools. So this is how massive our ecosystem is, our educational ecosystem is in France. And the advantage here is that while we encourage students to learn French before they go to France, you do not need to have a certain level of French to enter into a program. Why? Because today we offer more than 1,600 courses entirely taught in English. So you don't need to know French to get into a program in France. You don't need to know French to attend classes in France. We have English taught programs tailor-made for international students. And so French is going to be useful for you for scholarships, for internships, and later on jobs. But to enter into a program in France, if the course is taught entirely in English, then you don't need to know French. So can we go to the next slide, please? All right. So now that we know what the ecosystem looks like, it's also important to understand the benefits you can claim when you are in France. So most of these benefits, you will realize, are revolve around reducing your financial burden when you go overseas. Now, the first point is that there will be no discrimination between a French citizen and an international student. All students have similar access to the courses offered in France, provided you satisfy the minimum requirements of the courses. University tuition fees are heavily subsidized. So if you get into a public university, a student, the government spends about 14,000 euros on an international student or on a French student to educate them in a university. So international students have an advantage because they get this tuition fee subsidized. So to the extent that you are only required to pay a maximum of 1/3 of this tuition fees, which works out to about 2,700 euros for your bachelor's per annum and 3,700 euros per annum for your master's. And on top of this, if on the merit basis you get a scholarship, you will pay the same tuition fee as French citizens do, which is not more than 300 to 600 euros per annum. So public universities are great to get into because of their quality of studies, but also because of their low tuition fees. Now, the next 2 benefits that you can claim revolve around accommodation. And this is the first benefit is something that I've never seen anywhere else in the world. So this is called the CAF. So the CAF is a rental subsidy. So when students decide to go to France, they have to look for accommodation. Once they find one, they will have to pay a monthly rent. And this subsidy ensures that you get back up to 30% of the rent that you pay. So this is some extra money that you get back, which will help you with your living expenses. And this, like I said, is a benefit that I've not seen anywhere else in the world. The second one also revolves around accommodation, and this is the option of international students getting accommodation in government student facilities. So the government has an organization called the CRUS, where you can apply for student housing, which is reasonably priced. And students from India going on a French government scholarship are prioritized on this list to get an accommodation via the CRUS. Now, for those of you who are interested in taking up part-time jobs when they go overseas to study, it is important to note that a French student visa, a long-stay visa, enables you to work up to 19.5 hours a week. Now, this is something you can do. We don't necessarily recommend it because our focus is to make you enjoy and focus on your higher studies. So if you find that you have extra time on your hands and you'd like to earn some money, then yes, you can work up to 19.5 hours a week. Now, finally, one very, very interesting benefit, and like I said, all our benefits usually help you in reducing your cost of living in France. Once you register at your university and you get your student ID card, you can go anywhere, be it a museum, a library, the cinema theater, transportation. Anywhere you go, you will have reduced rates. You will have discounted student rates, which will help you in reducing your cost of living in France. So these are some of the more generic benefits that you can benefit from once you go to France. Next slide, please. All right. So now that you know of the general benefits, it's important to understand what types of institution you have in France and the ones you can apply to. So just like in India, we've got public institutions and private institutions, and the patterns for application are more or less the same. Should you decide to get into a public university, normally there is an entrance test. And should you decide to get into a private university, you directly apply, you go through a process of admission that is prescribed by the university. And if you are pre-selected, then you get your admission to start your course. Now, the advantage for international students applying to public universities is that you don't have to go through an entrance test. You will just have to submit an online admission application, which will go through us. And with one application, you can apply to 7 different public programs in France. So this is quite interesting because you pay one application fee for 7 courses. So if you go to the next slide, we'll show you how easy it is to apply to public universities. Now, public universities have we have a specific time frame within which you have to apply for these courses. So public university applications open on the 1st of November 2020 and will close on the 5th of March 2021 for the masters and 17th of January for the bachelor programs. So if you're interested in applying to a public university, you will have my contact details at the end of this presentation, and you can reach out to me and we will guide you through this entire process. So the process is fairly simple. You go online, we send you the procedure via email. You go online, create your application. You upload your documents onto the portal. So we require all your academic documents, your passport, your language proficiency, if you have any language proficiency scorecards. You will have to choose up to 7 programs that you're interested in. And you will have to enter a motivation for each one of them. You will pay your one-time fee of 16,500, and you can then, you will then be asked to go through an interview with us, normally us Kclas France managers. And once you finish this interview with us, the file is sent to the universities for review. So universities then have about 2 months to go through your application and give you a reply. And once you get a reply from the university, you have about a month or so. So that usually comes around the month of July. So you have till the month of July to give the university an answer. So if you're admitted, then you can say yes or no. And if you get multiple choices, when you're lucky, you can choose which campus you'd like to go to. So the process is fairly simple. And like I said, we are here to guide you every step of the way. Now, students tend to apply to public and private universities to have a backup plan as well. So this one-time fee of 16,500 rupees that you pay will be valid in case you get into a private college as well. Because once you get into a private college, you still have to go through us for a visa process. And the process is pretty similar to this, but the fee remains the same. You pay it only once. So that is the advantage of going through Campus France. Can we have the next slide, please? Now, a lot of what we do is to help students reduce their financial burdens when they go to study in France. We help you in reducing your tuition fees. We help you in covering your living expenses, and all this through a wide range of scholarships. And I think scholarships is something that students always look out for. It's very interesting. And of course, they're all merit-based. So today, the French government offers about 1 million euros, or an equivalent of 10 crores of scholarships to Indian students alone. So that's a massive amount, divided into a lot of scholarships. And combined with this, we have a total of about 500 scholarships that we offer to students every year. Now, these scholarships are offered by the French government. They are co-financed, which means that an institution or an organization can co-finance a scholarship with the French embassy. We have specific school scholarships. So whatever school you're going to will have its own set of scholarships, which will usually reduce your tuition fees, whereas our government scholarships usually cover your living expenses. So a student can benefit from 2 scholarships at the same time, one government scholarship, which will cover your living expenses, and a private university scholarship, which will cover usually your tuition fees. These scholarships are offered across the plateau, so irrespective of field of study and irrespective of level of study. And of course, these scholarships are almost always offered on a merit basis. So your academics play an important part in deciding whether or not you get a scholarship. And yes, we do have also an age limit, which is of 30 years, which I'm assuming all of you are under this age limit. And the moment you get a government scholarship, you get the title of a government scholarship holder, which carries a lot of benefits when you go to France. Can we have the next slide, please? Yeah. So our flagship scholarship in India is called the Charpak Scholarship. This is only for Indian students, and we offer it in 3 different ways. For those looking to take up an internship in France, we've got the Charpak Lab. So anyone who's got an admission in a French lab during the months of May to July can apply for the scholarship. And the stipend per month will vary depending on the city that you go to. So if it's in Paris, it's 800 euros. If it's any other city, then it will be, apart from Paris, it will be about 650 euros. Now, the second Charpak is the Charpak Masters, and it's one of our most important scholarships. This year, we awarded almost 60 Charpak scholarships to students. And the Charpak is offered again on 2 different levels, the full scholarship and the travel grant. Now, the full scholarship covers a monthly allowance of 700 euros, a visa fee and a Campus France fee waiver. So the 16,000 rupees and the 50 euro visa fee is completely waived off. We help you cover your medical insurance. So we give you one of the best medical coverages in the country, which costs about 300 euros per annum. We also give you a tuition fee waiver up to 5,000 euros, and we help you find affordable accommodation via the cruise. Those who get the full scholarship can avail of all these benefits, and those who get the travel grant will get a to and fro ticket to France, and the Campus France and the visa fee waived as well. Now, the final one is the Charpak Exchange, and this is offered to students who come from Indian institutions that have a French partner. And this is offered twice a year because it's offered on a semester pattern. So if in the future Kumaraguru decides to sign an MOU with a French institution which permits students to take on exchange programs, you can then subsequently apply for this scholarship, which provides you a monthly allowance of 700 euros, a visa and Campus France fee waiver, and of course, assistance to find affordable accommodation. So this is entirely dedicated purely to Indian students. So, don't hesitate. Should you decide to get into a school in France, don't hesitate to apply for the scholarship. You must have an admission or an acknowledgement that your file is being reviewed by the French university in order to apply for our scholarships. You can't apply for the scholarship first and then apply for the program. It doesn't work that way. Can we have the next slide, please? All right. Now, talking about the programs in France, one of the most important aspects of the courses offered in France is the internship component. Now, why? Because France believes in having a balance of both theory and practice. And so internships play a very, very important role in getting your degree in France. Failure to take up an internship will mean that you do not graduate from the program. So internships are very, very important. They are a law, they're a law-abiding contract signed between the hosting institution, the student, and the hosting organization. And any internship that goes over to 8 weeks will have to be paid by the hosting organization. So programs usually ask students to complete a minimum 4 to 6 month internship. So you can be assured that whatever internship you take to validate your master's will be a paid internship, and you can earn a minimum of 436 euros or more, depending on what the organization is willing to offer you. Now, it is, like I said, a very law-abiding contract. So it is something that we call a convention de stage, okay? And if the advantage of having a long stay visa, French visa, is that you are not limited to finding an internship only in France. You can find an internship anywhere in the Schengen zone as well. But if you are more determined to find something in France itself, the knowledge of French is going to play an important role in you securing a good internship in France. So the more you speak French, the more options you have. And the more you speak French, the better you perform in your internship, and the better you perform in your internship, the more possibilities of you converting them into a job. So unlike in India, where institutions have campus placements, nowhere else in the world do you have this concept. So the best way to get a job after post your studies is to be able to convert your internship into a job. The next slide, please. All right. Now, post your studies, post your internship, if you manage to find a job in France or in the Schengen zone, that's great. Opportunities are aplenty. We have a lot of students. I have personally seen a lot of students who have not come back post their studies because with a bit of French, they've managed to land very, very good jobs in France. But also remember that we initially spoke about the 500 top French companies plus about 500 subsidiaries, French subsidiaries present in India, all of them recruiting more than 350,000 skilled employees. So these French companies in India are looking to recruit Indian students who have had a French experience. And if you look at all the logos here, these are logos that are known to all of us. I'm pretty sure a lot of us go to Decathlon to buy a lot of sportswear or sports accessories. We use L'Oreal hair products. We use Michelin in our car tires. So these are companies that and every day, and these are French companies that are looking to recruit Indian students who have had a French experience. So opportunities are aplenty should you decide to come home after your studies as well. Next slide, please. So Campus France is not here just to help you get to France and forget about you after that. Campus France is a lot more than that. Campus France also set up something called the France Alumni Network, which enables students post their studies to keep in touch with France, to keep in touch with their seniors, or to keep in touch with their classmates. The France Alumni Network also boasts a large number of companies that put up internship offers, job offers on the portal so that our alumni can benefit from these offers. So if you go on to our Campus France Facebook page, Instagram page, YouTube page, you will find a series of testimonials from our alumni, and they give you some very valuable tips and share their experiences of having lived, studied, and worked in France. So these are certain tips that you can, you can take home with you, and it will help you better prepare your departure for France in the future. Next slide, please. So just one more point, which I forgot to mention about my previous slide. The France Alumni Network also hosts annually, every year, a job fair for our alumni. And so we bring together a long list of job offers that are available in India. And we invite our alumni to participate in this job fair so that they can be recruited by some of the best French companies based in India. Now, Mr. Eric spoke to you, in detail about why it is important to study French, to learn French before you go to France. And I'm just going to highlight 3 important points. Okay. 1, when you decide to learn French, understand that it will have an important value when you apply for scholarships. When you apply for scholarships before going to France, having a knowledge, when we are faced with 2 identical profiles, a scholarship committee will tend to choose someone who has a basic knowledge of French rather than someone who has no knowledge of French. So French can play an important role in determining whether or not you get a scholarship. And we don't ask you to have an advanced level of French. Even if you have a basic level of French from the Alliance Française, it is something that is highly recommended. 2, it helps you survive on a day-to-day basis in France. While you don't need it in the classroom, you are going to live in France for, say, a period of 1 to 2 years or even more. So you need to be able to communicate in French when you go out to take the train, or you go to buy your baguette or your croissant. So you need to have that basic knowledge of French in order to survive on a day-to-day basis. Of course, for internships, like I mentioned earlier, the more you speak French, the better the internship opportunities. And finally, the more you know French, you are not restricted to finding a job only in France or in India. You can find a job in any other Francophone country in the globe, around the globe. So these are some of the important reasons why you should learn French. Now, where do you learn French? Like Mr. PERROTEL mentioned, you can learn it at the Alliance Française. We have 14 centers in India, or the French Institute in India in Jaipur. You can learn before going, and you can continue learning the language once you're in France, as most universities do offer it as a credit course in the first few semesters. You also can learn French almost for free if you go to the local municipal offices in France, as they offer free classes for students who wish to take up French. The next slide, please. Now, coming down to the types of visas that students can apply for. So when you decide to go to France, there are 2 types of visas. You have the short stay visa, which is for any study trip that is going to be less than 90 days. And you have the long stay visa, which is for any study trip that's going to be for more than 90 days. So for those of you who decide to go for a 1-year master's or a 2-year master's, then you will apply for a long stay student visa. Now, post-studies, Indian students have a lovely advantage thanks to our Prime Minister Modi. So post your studies, should you take up a course that is recognized by the French government, at the end of it, you can apply for a 2-year job search visa. Now, you don't need to have a job to get this visa. You can directly apply for it and start looking for a job for a period of 2 years. It's given on a 1+1 basis, so you get it for the first year, and then you can renew it for the second year. For those who wish to take up research, or for those who wish to explore their talents in France, you also have the Research Talent Passport, which is offered for researchers and those with exceptional talents. Now, once you finish this 2-year APS visa or job search visa, and you decide to come back home, but you still wish to keep in touch with France or Europe, you can apply as an alumni for a 5-year circulation visa. Now, you can use this visa for business or tourism purposes, and it permits you to go to Europe, to France, or anywhere in the Schengen zone for a period not exceeding 90 days every semester. And this visa is valid for 5 years and can be extended to your spouse and children in the future. So these are some of the important visas that you can apply for once you are a student in France. The post-study visa as of 2019 can also be applied from India. So once you finish your course and you decide to come home, you can still apply for the 2-year visa. You don't have to be in France to apply for the 2-year job search visa. Next slide, please. So like I mentioned earlier, we organize a lot of events. We organize CVSOP workshops, we organize education fairs, job fairs, alumni events. So we organize twice a year something called a Choose France Tour, which is an education fair where we bring down about 40 top French institutions in France that come down to recruit students for their various programs. Now, because of the pandemic, organizing such an event in a public space is not going to be very feasible. So we have decided to host this virtually. So for the first time in India, we will be hosting the Choose France Tour on a virtual platform on the 6th and 7th of November 2020 from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Indian Standard Time. So if you are interested in meeting some of the best institutions from France in various fields, we have management, engineering, and in engineering, all the fields that you can imagine, language, public universities, hospitality institutes, then this is the place to meet one-on-one with these French institutions. Get all your answers sorted with regards to studying in France. Get all the information you need about scholarships. We have interesting quizzes, webinars, and we have stalls for each institution so that you can have a chat with them one-on-one. And if they're interested in your profile, they can help you in applying for their programs as well. So if you wish to participate, and we invite you to participate, we'd love to have you over. Please register using the link given in the slide. So it's cft.ifindia.in. So please register. Without registering, you cannot participate. Registration and participation is free, just like all our counseling services. So if you decide to have a one-on-one counseling session with us, be rest assured that it is a free service that we offer. So please, we encourage you to participate. Join us for this interesting event on the 6th and 7th of November, and you can register right away using the link on the slide. So I think we will also put the link in the comment section so that you can register. Yeah, it's already on the comment section. So please don't hesitate to use it, and we look forward to seeing you at the event. Can we have the next slide, please? I think that's the final one. Yeah, so should you have any questions, or should you decide you want to apply to public universities in France or apply to private universities in France, we can help you with all of that. As I mentioned earlier, we are a 2-member office in Chennai. So you can contact me or my colleague, Miss Alina Lewis, and our email IDs and contact details are there. Please don't hesitate. Take a screenshot of the slide so that you can reach out to us. We're always available from Monday to Fridays. And given this current pandemic situation, all our counseling services have gone online. So just tell us when you would like to have a one-on-one session, and we can schedule it accordingly. Thank you so much. And I think we can now move on to the Q&A session. Over to you, Magdalene. You're muted, Magdalene.
Thank you. So thank you. The session was really very informative. We came to know a lot of information about scholarships, higher education, etc. And we keep seeing a lot of interesting questions in the chat box.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just start with one. So there is a student named Shantanu Rajan.
Okay.
He or she is asking, like, they have done their graduation in French language and they want to continue their masters. Is translation and interpretation available in France? Is there a course like this in
Yes,
France?
it is actually something that is sought after quite a bit. However, despite having a graduation in French language, we usually recommend students to have a DALF C1 or a C2 in order to ensure that they get admitted for the program at the master's level. So we usually recommend them to have that additional language proficiency to prove that they have the required level to get into such a program. And usually, the translation and interpretation program requires you to have knowledge, advanced knowledge in 3 languages. A lot of these courses have allow you to have the 3rd language as your mother tongue. So if you're fluent in your mother tongue, you're fluent in English and in French, well, you have that covered then.
I understand. Thank you.
I think we can have Mr. Eric on board
Yes,
also.
sure.
He's more experienced in the teaching of French language and courses available.
Yes, I agree with what RHEA said right now. I mean, you need 3 languages, and the best school right now in France is called ESIT, École Supérieure d'Interprétariat et de Traduction. It's quite difficult to enter the school, but you need a minimum of, I think we should check, but I think it's a minimum of C2 level in French. I'm not sure if C1 is enough, but anyway, as RHEA mentioned, you need 3 languages. And English is compulsory.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the answer. So let's have the next question.
I think Eric can answer that.
All right. So if you want to be an assistant of English in France, then you have to go on our website, the website of the Institut Français. You have all the information, and you can also register your name so that we have your name in our files. So if you want to be an assistant in English, you just send us your details, and then we have a selection, and then you go to France. We don't pay for any accommodation or any trip. But over there you get about, if I'm right, I think it's about 790 euros per month. And usually the schools help you to find an accommodation, and you have to teach 12 hours per week. It could be primary school or secondary school. You don't teach in any university. Now, you need a minimum of B2 level in French, and also you need a minimum of 7.5 grade at the IELTS from the British Council. So this is very important. Now, if you want more information, I suggest you to go on our website, and then you have all the details and also the contact of my colleague Jatinder, Mr. Jatinder Singh, or Mrs. Smriti Pawar, and then they would answer to your specific question. But already you can apply, especially on the question of the DELF. This is one of important question now, because you need to sit the DELF examination, but now none of the Alliance Française in India can permit you to sit the exam because of the COVID situation. Some of them are going to have sessions in December, and I know that Coimbatore might have a session, but I'm not sure. It might be in Chennai.
I think it's also important to note that we recently held a session on the Assistant d'Anglais program, and if you wish to know more or get your answers clarified, you can watch the replay of the session that was hosted on our Campus France Facebook page. So it's one of the most the more recent videos that we've posted. So you can also have a look at the replay of it.
So thank you for those answers. I hope the question is clarified now. So let's go on to the next question. Okay, ma'am, I have completed 9th grade. I have finished A1, A2, B1. What options do I have? I want to do business studies in France.
That's great. So, like I mentioned, we have the Choose France tour that's coming up on the 6th and 7th of November. We have about 18 business schools that have registered for this program, all of them offering undergraduate degrees in business, and all of them offering English taught programs as well. So, I mean, of course, having a level of French is important. You can apply to public schools as well. With a B1, so you still have time. You're in the 9th grade, so by the 12th grade, if you're done with your B2 or even a C1, then you are eligible to apply to business programs at the bachelor's level in public universities. So you will have to pay a very minimal tuition fee. But if you're interested in applying to our our elite business schools, then I suggest you come by our Choose France store, register for it, and you get to speak to them one-on-one to see what other requirements you might need in order to be eligible for their programs once you graduate from school.
Okay.
I hope that was clear.
Yes, it was. So shall we go on to the next question?
Sure.
Okay, from Roshni, is it possible for someone in the final year of high school to apply now so that as soon as their exams are over, they can join for a bachelor's degree in France?
Yes, so that's how the application process works a lot of times. So we have like I mentioned, a public university campaign opens from the 1st of November. So we understand that you will not have your final grades by then. So you can apply, and they will, if they're interested in your profile, they will give you a conditional admission letter, provided you submit your final results once you get them. And so ideally, you'll have to submit your results before you travel to France. And normally our intake is in September 2021, so you have more than enough time to get your final results and submit it before traveling. So yes, you can do that.
Okay, thank you. I just saw a PhD question by Ankasha Bak. Bonjour, I've completed my master's in French and working as assistant professor. Is it possible to pursue PhD in French in business mode from France in distance? Is it possible?
Yes, so it depends on the supervisor that you get in France. So if the supervisor is, so ideally, I think if it, correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, but if it's going to be a via distance mode, it is most often a co-supervised PhD program. So if you have a supervisor here and you manage to find a supervisor in France, then yes, you can take up a co-supervised distance mode PhD program. We already have a candidate who's doing it at the moment.
At the moment, we have somebody who is in Montpellier for 2 months, and he got a scholarship from us in Charpak. Which one is it? RHEA? I don't remember.
I think we gave him the research scholarship.
Yeah. So he's there for 2 months, and so he's doing online PhD.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was informative for me also. Thank you. So
it really depends on the connections you have in France. If you know someone who's really interested in taking you up as a PhD student, then then you're in luck. I would say.
I understand. Thank you. So can we go on to the next question?
Absolutely.
Okay. May I know what is age limit to join for higher studies?
So we do not have an age limit per se. I mean, there's no barrier for enhancing your knowledge. So we don't believe, at least us at the French Embassy, we don't believe in having a barrier. And in most programs also, there isn't an age criteria from what I've seen or experienced so far. I've sent students for law degrees at the age of 40. So I don't see why age would be a limit for you.
But in terms of scholarship, there is an age limit which is 30 years old.
Yes.
As you said before.
Yeah. An age limit of 30 years for scholarships alone.
Okay.
And
can we go on?
sorry to interrupt, but we had a comment from someone who said before, I've seen that, how can we get a scholarship to continue my study in French department in India? So RHEA, tell me if I'm wrong, but we don't give any scholarship to pursue
No.
studies in India. It has to be
No.
in France,
Yeah. Yes.
and not even in another French-speaking country.
Yeah. Yeah. It has to be in a French territory, so it can be in one of our islands like La Réunion, but it has to be on French soil. We only offer scholarships for those pursuing higher studies on French soil.
Okay. So there is one question which keeps repeating: post-graduation management programs in France by Lakshmi Tamil.
Okay, so when you look, it's quite interesting that the question has come up because we are renowned for our management courses. So when you look, when students look for management programs, then one important thing that they look at is accreditations. So we usually look for something called the Triple Crown. So it's 3 different types of accreditations, and it's any business school with this triple accreditation is supposed to be one of the top, the cream of the cream, the crème de la crème, as they say in French. So when you look at the number of triple accredited institutions in India, up until 2 years ago, there was just one, which was IIM Kolkata. And since the last 2 years, we've had 2 more institutions. I think IIM Indore and ISB Hyderabad. So apart from these are the only 3 Indian institutions that have this triple crown. Whereas if you look at France, we have about 15 triple accredited institutions. So it goes to show how important quality is to us, and how we aim and we strive to maintain international standards in our management courses. So like I said, we have the Choose France Tour coming up on the 6th and 7th of November, and we have 18 business schools that have registered to participate. So if you want to know more, we also have a very interesting webinar on unique management courses that will be hosted during this education fair. So yes, please, we have a wide variety of management courses to choose from, taught entirely in English in France.
So there was one question about a scholarship, I guess, which popped up.
I think so. Yes, Erasmus, right?
Yeah, Erasmus
Yes.
Mundus
So
scholarship.
Erasmus Mundus scholarships are also scholarships that we offer here. So, but this is a European Union scholarship. So any French institution that has an Erasmus program, so Erasmus is basically the possibility of a student doing a program in multiple partner universities within the Schengen zone. So we have quite a lot of students who take up, for example, a master's program in an Erasmus program in advanced robotics. So they start a semester or a year in France, and then they do the remaining semesters of their course in the other partner universities in, say, for example, Germany, Poland, and Italy. So there are Erasmus scholarships available that can go up to about 48,000 euros. That's as much as I have seen in the past, and they usually cover tuition fees, living expenses, traveling costs, everything. Basically, they cover everything. We've had students going on full Erasmus scholarships, not paying a penny. So you can log on to the Erasmus Mundus website, and you can download their catalog of Erasmus Mundus programs and apply for them accordingly. And you'll find them across fields. We've had students going for Erasmus Mundus programs in Western classical dance. And we have also students going for neurosciences, green chemistry, advanced robotics. So there are intercultural management. So there are a lot of courses, interesting Erasmus Mundus courses, which helps you understand and explore the intricacies or the specializations offered by different universities in the Schengen zone.
Okay. So can we go to the next question?
Yeah.
Next question, please. Okay, I guess there is some lag. So, Madam, can you say something about uses of French language in India? So, okay, there is one more question which has popped up.
So I think I will take my example to start with. I'm someone who has a very diverse background. I did corporate secretaryship, and then I did medical psychiatric social work, and now I work for the French embassy. And if I got into the French embassy today, it was predominantly because of my knowledge of French. So I did my high secondary schooling in the Lycée Français, which is a French institute, French school, which is still run by the French government in Pondicherry. And so if I got into the French embassy today, it was predominantly because of my knowledge of French. Now that's one example. The other examples, of course, we have, like I said, about 500 top French companies and 500 subsidiaries, French subsidiaries based in India, all of them looking for someone who've had a French experience or who speak French. So companies like Renault, PSA, L'Oreal, they're big companies that look for students who have knowledge of French. So getting a job, yes, Eric.
And also at the French Embassy, French Institute, we've got a lot of people, Indian people, who've had an experience. I mean, they learned French in Alliance Française in India, or they were as an assistant of English in France, and when they came back, I mean, they just applied for a job, because on our website we do have sometimes some jobs available. So most of the people working at the French network here in India, I mean, have been learning French. I mean, they had a scholarship in France, so they were assistant in France.
And we are always on the lookout. I mean, companies everywhere, because the fact that they have implanted themselves in India, constantly look for translators, interpreters.
Yep.
So having a knowledge of French is going to be very useful in this regard as well.
I have to agree that, because we see a lot of questions asking about French studies, like masters in food technology, etc. So they keep asking so many questions related to academics. So I really hope the French tour will give them answers in
Yes,
regards
yes,
to that.
yeah. And like I said, we have English taught programs where you don't need a basic level of French to get into the program or to do the program. So that difficulty is not going to be there. So we are, we're making it easy. We're offering the same types of courses and more unique courses entirely taught in English, certain courses that you won't even find anywhere else as well. So yes, and that's what our fair aims to do, is to bring together some very unique courses so that we recruit young, fresh Indian talent.
So thank you on the same. So I guess we are nearing nearly 1 hour to 10 minutes. So we'll take one last question, and with that we'll wind up. So can we have the last question for today?
Okay, so when applying for scholarships, one must either have an admission already in hand or an acknowledgement email from the institution stating that the application is being reviewed. Once you have one of these documents, then you can proceed to applying for our scholarships. And our scholarship applications start pretty early. So, for example, our global elite scholarship called the Eiffel Scholarship, which is a global scholarship not just for Indian students, has already opened and will close sometime early January. So if you are really interested in studying in France next year, then you should start applying right now. Applications will open now and go right up to July of next year. But if you want to benefit a maximum from the different scholarships that we have, then you start applying as early as now, which is why we host our fairs at this point in time, to help you in seeking admission in France. So the earlier you apply, the more scholarships you have. But yes, you must have at least an admission or an acknowledgement that the file is being reviewed before you submit an application to us. And remember that all our scholarship applications are online. So there's no physical interview, there's no sending of applications via courier. Everything happens online, and never are they offered on a first come, first serve basis. You apply within the deadline, and once the deadline closes, then we have the scholarship commission. So, everyone is treated fairly.
So thank you so much for all the clarifications and your time. You really explained many questions very well.
Pleasure.
So I just call upon Richa for the word of thanks.
So, I'm very happy to be with you today, and I really hope that lots of your students are going to be with us for the Choose France tour, are going to inquire about the possibilities to study in France, to be assistant in France, because we want to have lots of Indian students going to France. I don't remember if RHEA mentioned, but we reached the number of 10,000 Indian students going to France last year. And our goal is to have 20,000 students, Indian students going to France by 2025, yes.
Okay.
And we can see now that lots of Indian students have a big interest into going to France to study or to work. So, I think it's the right time now, and just take it.
So
And
yeah,
thank you for your invitation.
yes, we're always here. The pandemic hasn't slowed us down. We are the first country in the Schengen zone to have reopened our visas, and it has been a priority for France to receive its international students. So our visa sections only reopen to prioritize the issuance of student visas. So it goes to show that we care for our students, and we want to make sure that you reach there on time. So we ensure that we opened our visas on time, and the air bubble that was signed between India and France ensured that we allowed you to arrive in France in time to start your courses. So we've had a lot of students who have already left and who have started their courses, and we have invited them to give us their testimonials of their experience so far. So we'll hope to see you on the 6th and 7th.
Sure, thank you. Richa, you can unmute yourself.
I would like to thank our experts for giving us a lot of knowledge about the opportunities in France, and the webinar actually helped us a lot. And we would also like to inform all the participants to join the French virtual tour, which will be happening in November. So thank you, experts. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us.
So I also extend my gratitude towards our principal, Dr. Vijala Kennedy Madam, who really support us throughout the webinar, and also our virtual guidance head, Mr. Leo, who always supports in all our webinars. So thank you all. So please see to that you fill in the feedback links to get your certificates. And for more information, check our websites. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you. Have a nice evening. Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir. Bonsoir.